A nurse in Italy has been arrested on suspicion of killing up to 38 patients. Investigators believe Daniela Poggiali gave lethal injections of potassium chloride to patients she found difficult or whose relatives were demanding. Staff noticed an abnormal number of deaths connected with the nurse.
This is the sick case of Italian nurse Daniela Poggiali, who was suspected to have killed up to 96 patients, then mocking them by posing next to their dead bodies, all because they annoyed her. Daniela Poggiali, born in 1972 at a small town in northern Italy named Faenza, in a commune of under 60,000 people. Daniela Poggiali, now aged 53, gained global attention when disturbing self-portraits surfaced, showing her grinning beside the lifeless body of an elderly woman. Initially, investigators suspected Daniela Poggiali of administering potassium chloride, a substance used in lethal injections in the United States. The figure started at 38 patients, but this was later increased to 96 patient deaths under her watch at Umberto I Hospital in Lugo over the past 2 years. They are concerned she may have been responsible for as many as 3 deaths in a single day. If she was convicted of anywhere near 90 murders, Poggiali, who has been a healthcare worker for 17 years, would go down in history books as the most prolific serial killer nurse in the world. Investigators claim that the alleged murders committed by Poggiali were not a twisted version of euthanasia, but rather the actions of a megalomaniac with a god complex. Nevertheless, authorities stated that Poggiali has no documented history of mental illness and does not exhibit any characteristics typically associated with psychopathy. In addition to the disturbing accusations, police also suspected that she stole cash and belongings from her vulnerable elderly patients while planning their deaths, reportedly because they annoyed her. Miss Poggiali, who was captured in a photograph laughing as she was escorted handcuffed into court, maintained her innocence regarding the murder charges, alleging that she was the target of a vendetta by a disgruntled colleague. She went so far as to file a lawsuit against the hospital for wrongful termination. Meanwhile, Daniela Poggiali is receiving numerous letters from admirers and even marriage proposals while in prison. Her case has garnered interest from individuals who were once supporters of Amanda Knox, now redirecting their attention to the captivating killer. Shockingly, it appears that some colleagues were not blind to the coincidence of her presence during many hospital deaths, as this issue was openly discussed among them. One nurse, Sarah Pausini, confessed to the Italian Carabinieri, stating, "We had for some time been talking about Poggiali and about the strange number of dead patients, even 3 on the same day." According to the arrest warrant, she remarked, "When I went to work with her, I began to count the strange number of deaths to see if it was by bad luck or something else." Records indicate that Miss Poggiali was present at twice the frequency of any other nurse, and up to 4 times the average during her final 4 months at the hospital. Particularly concerning are the 3 unexplained deaths under Miss Poggiali's care within a 24-hour period on the night of March 31st and April 1st. Prosecutors classified all 3 deaths as highly suspicious. In the distressing instance involving victim Oriana Crica, who passed away on March 31st, an unnamed nurse was summoned to attend to the elderly woman after her nasal feeding tube started leaking onto the pillow. The nurse was occupied with a complex procedure on another patient, prompting Miss Poggiali to offer to handle it herself. Shortly after, the patient passed away, reportedly in agony, as stated in the arrest warrant. 2 additional patients died under Miss Poggiali's care on April 4th and 5th. Despite autopsies conducted by doctors, no abnormalities were detected. Investigators suspect that after this sequence of deaths, Poggiali may have felt invulnerable to detection. However, there were already significant suspicions surrounding her potential involvement. After being transferred from the night shift to the morning shift for closer observation by doctors, she allegedly continued her actions. The prosecutor in the case claims she saw the extra scrutiny put on her as a kind of challenge. The prosecutor stated, "We retain that she thought she was so clever, so cunning that she could kill in the daytime, right under everyone's noses. She had a sense of power which made her feel capable of doing whatever she wanted, even in the sense of taking someone's life. She felt omnipotent like a god. This was her mistake." On one occasion, she had even felt safe enough to joke about her murder method with colleagues, as she joked to a doctor and said, 2 phials of potassium, and it would all be resolved. A doctor at the hospital said, "Our investigation shows that between 2012 and 2014, 93 patients in her care died. The nearest of her colleagues to that figure was 45. All the other nurses were present at less than 30 deaths. We don't have proof that all these patients were murdered, but nevertheless 93 is a disturbing number. Another case involved 78-year-old Rosa Calderoni in her hospital bed, with her daughter Manuela Alci by her side. Her daughter was told to leave the room by Daniela Poggiali, as she had things to do. After 10 minutes, daughter Manuela came back into the room and saw there was a small glass file attached to her mother, which wasn't there 10 minutes before as she left the room. Moments later, she noticed her mother started twitching manically and that her eyes started rolling back. A few minutes later, Manuela's mother was pronounced dead, and that 2 vials of potassium chloride had suspiciously gone missing from the hospital. Potassium chloride is extremely difficult to detect, as it is gone from the body within a few hours. Luckily, on this occasion, doctors quickly tested the elderly woman's aqueous humor, which is in her eyeball where it is easiest to detect. In the aqueous humor, they discovered a quantity of poison sufficient to induce a heart attack. Additionally, they uncovered a syringe, which had previously contained potassium, in a disposal unit. Believing they finally had sufficient evidence of a murder, they finally reported Poggiali to the police. This is where they found sickening images on Daniela Poggiali's phone. In the first, she is grinning and giving a thumbs up while standing victorious over the obviously dead body of an elderly woman. In the second, she is lying back with her mouth open in a cruel imitation of the woman's dying position. The colleague that took them later described her mood as euphoric. Poggiali wrote under the picture on WhatsApp, life and death. The police are so disturbed by the distressing nature of the pictures that they find it difficult to inform the victim's family that she is the individual depicted in them, which were leaked to the press earlier in the week. Dr. Mancini expressed shock at the horrific images, describing them as displaying pleasure, satisfaction, euphoria, and stated that he had never encountered anything of this nature in his career. Poggiali's colleague, who took the pictures, later asserted that she did so out of fear of Poggiali's vengeful disposition. Other nurses alleged that she would administer additional laxatives to patients to create issues for the next staff member on duty. Furthermore, they asserted that Poggiali would administer sleeping medications to patients to ensure a tranquil night shift for herself. A colleague, who stated that she had observed Poggiali stealing patients' personal belongings, informed the police that she discovered a funeral bouquet tied with a black ribbon on her car's bonnet in a mafia-style warning. In fact, Poggiali was described as a compulsive thief and is alleged to have stolen various items from patients, including amounts up to €100, as well as toiletries such as soaps and shower gels, and even drugs like antibiotics from the hospital. According to police, there were 12 confirmed incidents of theft during her 12 years at the hospital, though numerous other thefts remained unexplained. Remarkably, she was regarded as an exceptional nurse, known for her competence and efficiency. However, Sarah Pausini informed the police that Poggiali could be harsh towards patients with challenging conditions, especially those who were agitated, requested additional assistance or medication, or had difficult relatives who voiced complaints. At home, her demeanor was equally intimidating. According to friends, her boyfriend, mechanic Luigi Confeconi, with whom she resided in a council flat between Bologna and Ravenna, appeared to be dominated by her. When she was arrested by the police, one officer stated, "She didn't react like a normal person. She was calm. She didn't bat an eyelid while her boyfriend burst into tears saying, 'I don't believe it.'" Poggiali is said to be unfazed by prison where she must be enjoying a certain notoriety. She has been inundated by love letters and offers of marriage. On October the 25th, after serving 1,000 days in prison, Daniela Poggiali was freed from any wrongdoing. However, she was expelled from ever practicing as a nurse ever again. This was due to the image of the 102-year-old patient she mocked. When released from prison, she said to the press, "Now I want to think a little about myself, enjoy my family. Then one day, I'd like to go back to my job. Hope is always the same." Furthermore saying, "This affair has brought me pain, but it has not taken away the belief that I am a good nurse and that I can do my job again, as I did before. I feel good. I have been in my family. I am slowly regaining possession of my freedom and that incredible flavor that freedom has after more than 10 months locked in a prison." After 1,000 days in the cell and a first acquittal, the Supreme Court had overturned that sentence and she was back in custody on Christmas Eve 2020. "I'm slowly resuming normal everyday things and I'm trying to get back into my daily life. What do you think about this? With so much evidence against her, why wasn't she given a much tougher sentence? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.
Ambulance emergency. Is the patient breathing?
Yes, he is.
Is the patient awake?
Well, he was.
Okay, tell me exactly what's happened.
I've just stabbed my husband twice.
You've... Tell me again?
You heard, I've stabbed my husband twice.
Can I speak to him? Is he awake?
No, he's not really awake, mate. I think he's dying.
Okay, alright. We have got help being arranged, okay?
Yeah,
now...
you need to get the guys here now.
All
get
right.
the guys here now. The police to arrest me. And the EMS, I need the cops here now.
We've got help being arranged for you. They've been allocated to you, okay, but we need to help the patient now, okay? So lay him flat on his back,
Right,
remove
okay,
anything
okay,
from
okay.
under his head,
Right, I've
do
got
that
front
now.
door open. Right, front door's open,
Right,
okay?
go to the patient and do that
Go
now.
back up the door. Hang on, wait a minute. Oh, I think I've killed him.
In today's case, we will be discussing Rebecca Searing and the chilling 999 call she made moments after fatally stabbing her husband twice in his chest as he laid sleeping. Was this a case of domestic violence or plain cold-blooded murder? At 2:12 in the morning on the 12th of February 2022, 52-year-old nurse Rebecca Searing made a chilling 999 call to the emergency services saying that she had stabbed her husband twice at their home after he came home late, drinking at a pub in Harlow, the west of Essex, England, leaving the responder in shock, asking Rebecca to repeat herself. Speaking to Essex police officers after she'd been arrested, Miss Searing said, "I can't believe I've done this, and I will go down for this." Paramedics battled to save Paul Searing's life in the bedroom before transporting him to the hospital, where he passed away 3 hours later. Miss Searing persistently implored the police, expressing disbelief, saying, "Please, assure me this isn't true and he can't be gone, he's so resilient." Not long after, police found the stained blooded knife within their residence. During the court proceedings, it was revealed that documents were discovered on Ms. Searing's computer, discussing the topic of murder, with one containing the phrase, "Make your mind up if it's time to kill." Upon further findings, Rebecca also texted a friend stating, "It's time to kill." Judge Christopher Morgan said the defendant, who had also been drinking, helped her husband upstairs, then returned downstairs at their home in Harlow. The judge also said, "Shortly before 2:30 a.m., you took a knife from the kitchen, you made your way upstairs, and you stabbed your husband as he lay in bed." And that, Rebecca stated, "Tonight I took my chance." The judge said the defendant's husband had presented no threat and, in all probability, he was asleep. Further saying, "At whatever stage, those words were no justification for what you were to do later on." She asserted that she was enduring instances of domestic abuse from her husband on a monthly basis, made worse by the COVID-19 lockdown. In her testimony to the court, she recounted, "The last memory I have is Paul criticizing me, saying I'm hopeless and useless. I have no recollection of dialing 999, stabbing him, or any altercation where I felt threatened." Detective Inspector Lydia George, who led the investigation, stated, "Paul Searing tragically lost his life in a burst of intense violence, and Rebecca Searing's actions proved to be fatal. While she may harbor some remorse for the events, it cannot reverse the irreversible outcomes of her actions. She is now confronted with a life sentence, with a considerable duration to be spent in prison." During Rebecca's trial, the jury was informed that the 52-year-old had asked an officer about the possibility of receiving a 25-year sentence for the crime. When questioned about these remarks during the interview, she responded with a no comment. During the 9-day trial at Chelmsford Crown Court on August 26, 2022, she was found guilty, displaying no emotional reaction upon the announcement of the verdict. On August 26th, a spokesperson for the Island Surgery declared, "Upon learning of allegations against a former practice nurse, we promptly suspended her and conducted a thorough investigation. We subsequently reported the matter to the Nursing and Midwifery Council, NMC. This nurse has not been employed in any capacity by the practice since 2017. We wish to assure all our patients completely that their privacy, dignity, and safety are our top priorities." Alan Compton, for the prosecution, read a statement from Mr. Searing's sister, Karen Croco, in which she said he had worked hard as a cabinet maker and took pride in his work. She described him as happy-go-lucky and football mad. He loved Tottenham Hotspur. Mr. Searing, who had children, was an exceptionally loyal man, caring, warm, and kind, Ms. Kroku said. His sister also stated, she may have been a good nurse, but that doesn't make her a good person. Prosecutor Sasha Was said, the married couple had a complex relationship. She loved him despite the complexity of that relationship, and she still loves him, and that their relationship involved regular domestic violence. On September 7, 2022, Rebecca Searing looked straight ahead as she was sentenced to life imprisonment to serve a minimum term of 17 years. This is the horrific case of Shiwangi Bagoan, the Hounslow nurse, who killed her 2-year-old daughter before killing herself. On December 14, 2020, a cold winter's day in West London, the bodies of Shiwangi Bagoan and daughter Ziana were found dead in the family home, later stumbled across by Shiwangi's mother. Shiwangi worked as an anesthetics assistant at the University College Hospital NHS Foundation Trust, located in central London Euston Road. Investigations conducted by the local police revealed that the mother, who had one child, had previously tried to end her own life 3 years prior, in 2017. During that time, she had stolen the same drugs she later utilized to end her life, and that of her baby, Ziana. Following a suspension from work lasting over a year, she resumed her employment at Westmoreland Street Hospital in July 2020. They were found with cannulas, medical tubes designed to administer drugs directly into veins, inserted into their arms. Despite frantic efforts from the London Ambulance Service, both individuals could not be revived. In a heartbreaking suicide letter directed to her mother, who discovered them along with Ziana's auntie Ira, Shiwangi wrote, "Dear Mum, I am sorry I have put you through a lot. I am taking Zia with me because I don't want to be selfish in leaving her to you. You have done so much for both of us, and all I have done is give you stress." During the court proceedings, it was disclosed that grandmother Jasumatu utilized her own key to access the apartment, as they had not been in contact with Shiwangi for several days, leading to growing concerns about her well-being. Detective Sergeant Terry Goodman, the primary officer overseeing the investigation, stated, "Inquiries found that vials of drugs were stolen from Westmoreland Street Hospital, from a locked cabinet Shiwangi had 24-hour access to. At 4:26 a.m., surveillance footage captured them ascending to the second floor, after which Shiwangi utilized her key fob to enter the operating theaters. The key fob was activated a minute later, at 4:27 a.m. The drugs, ultimately determined to be the cause of Shiwangi and Ziana's demise, were stored in a combination-locked refrigerator within that vicinity. Shiwangi was familiar with the combination, and within 4 minutes, she departed from the hospital and began her journey back home. Throughout the police inquiry, several witness testimonies were collected, including from her partner, identified only as her colleague Joseph, and Ziana's father, Gijesh, residing in Leicester. It became evident that Shiwangi had previously attempted suicide in 2017. Surveillance footage from outside Shiwangi and Joseph's workplace depicted a significant argument approximately a week before her discovery deceased. Shiwangi's final recorded communication via phone with anyone occurred on the evening of December 10th. Messages dating back to approximately November 15th revealed Shiwangi expressing her longing for her father. Messages exchanged between Shiwangi and Joseph indicated her struggles to cope with daily tasks, with a noticeable shift in tone occurring in the week preceding her demise. One message read, "You know I'm stressing out, at least just be here with me." Another said, "I'm really struggling to cope. I've been telling you that I've been having all these hopeless thoughts, and you haven't taken any note of that." On the afternoon of December 9th, she sent her then-boyfriend Joseph a picture of a note that she had written to her daughter, which expressed that she felt she was a bad mother, the court heard. 2 days before her death, she sent another message begging Joseph, "Please come home today. I am barely hanging on." The court was also told that Shiwangi had used her mobile phone to search on Google how certain drugs operated in the hours before her death. A representative from University College Hospital NHS Foundation Trust had previously characterized Shiwangi as a highly valued member of our staff, whose absence would be felt by her co-workers. Additionally, a family friend informed an online news outlet that she was a kind-hearted woman who adored her daughter Zia, stating, "She was a good friend of mine, and I'm just devastated. I cannot believe she would hurt Zia, nor take her own life. The medical cause of death for both Shiwangi and Ziana was given as respiratory failure due to drug intoxication, recording the conclusion that Ziana was unlawfully killed and that Shiwangi died by suicide. West London's acting senior coroner Lydia Brown told the court. In 2017, Shiwangi attempted to take her own life, using the same method she used 3 years later. At the time, she received support from her employment and was able to continue her work as an operating department practitioner. At 4 a.m. on December 11, 2020, she entered the hospital where she worked, where she took drugs which were later found at their home. A final note was written to her mother that morning. All the evidence suggests that she died shortly after that note was written. Ziana's mother set up an intravenous line with equipment she used in her employment in operating theaters, and administered drugs to Ziana with intention of ending her life. Ziana was found dead on the bed beside her mum after being unlawfully killed. Referring to Shiwangi's death, Ms. Brown said, Shiwangi had taken anesthetic drugs and equipment from her employer. She wrote a number of notes expressing her apologies to her friends and family. I am confident that on the balance of probabilities, that she intended to take her own life. Therefore, I record a conclusion of suicide. Giving her condolences to the family, she said, It is heartbreaking for you to have lost not one, but 2 family members in such difficult circumstances. I am sure that these losses have been felt so very widely by all those that knew Shiwangi and Ziana. Detective Chief Inspector Jim Shirley, from London's Metropolitan Police Specialist Crime Command Unit said, This is a truly tragic case, and my thoughts are with Shiwangi and Ziana's family as they continue to come to terms with what has happened. They have suffered a terrible loss in unimaginably difficult circumstances. We will never fully know what led Shiwangi to do what she did. It is clear that mental ill health must have played a significant role. As police officers, we know all too well the scale of the mental health challenge in our communities, and we see the impact it has on those who are suffering and on their families and loved ones.